can see you, but I won't. Some look for board games, but others don't. There's 1,000 Kickstarters that just want me to pay. My wallet's empty, so I'd wish they'd go away. Oh, you're not a game, you're just a ringing in my ear. And if I played you, which I won't, I'd get rid of you, I fear. Every game I've ever loved is here within these walls. I'm sorry, Aeon's Trespass, but I'm blocking out your calls. I have too many board games, I don't need something new. I'm afraid of what I'm risking if I back you into the unknown. And I'm going to stop it here because I actually, for whatever I can or can't do, I guarantee you this, I can't hold a high note. Now, I will say, don't get used to singing on this channel. This is not what I signed up for when I started a YouTube channel. Singing was not my thing. Dancing is totally not my thing. But I did this because Aeon's Trespass Odyssey, which is the game we're covering today, is by Into the Unknown. Combine that with my impromptu poor decision to sing the other day, and the multiple people who think it's hilarious to have me sing on camera. And so I guess I thought I would do this because if you don't know the song I just sung, that was Into the Unknown by Panic at the Disco, with a slight twist on the lyrics to match, well, Kickstarter and this game's. But really, I don't know what I'm doing here. I really don't. This is not what I signed up for again. All that being said, let's just jump straight into it. Aeon's Trespass Odyssey and why I didn't back it. And the short answer is you probably should back it. I just am not interested, and we'll cover why, because I simultaneously am and am not interested at the same time. So what is Aeon's Trespass Odyssey? What's going on here? So as a beginning point, I will touch upon both King of Average and One Stop Co-op Shop had great videos covering some pros and cons. They've both played the game, they've both gotten their hands on the game, and they both seem to have a pretty favorable opinion of this game. And that is very relevant because whenever you have something like this, that their feedback, that the fact that they liked it, that they enjoyed it, is a very, very relevant point when you have a first-time creator. Now, this is not a first-time creator on Kickstarter per se, but their previous lines, they had 2 miniature lines and then 1 card game come out. This is their first game along these lines. And when you have a game along these lines that is simultaneously echoing aspects of, let me see if I can find it here, it's echoing, I can't find it, I lost this, but this game is echoing and pulling in elements of Kingdom Death Monster and Seventh Continent. The whole vibe of the game, the whole aspect of fighting these epic battles, and the art style of the game very heavily matches Kingdom Death Monster, versus the tile laying aspect. You're exploring this map slowly but surely and you're laying out tiles, that has an aspect of Seventh Continent. Now, that in and of itself would be a giant red flag to me. Basically, you have a fairly first-time board game creator in the space who is trying to echo 2 of the most successful Kickstarters of all time, and all I'm hearing pinging in the back of my head is that ringing in my ears, just ringing in my ears is the idea that they're trying to cash in on popular games, and they're making something that will likely not be good, because what are the chances that it's actually good? What are the chances when you sit there and say, I'm just going to mimic the most popular games out there, 2 of the most popular games out there, I'm going to mimic them and hope for the best? Well, that's not a good sign. Which is why King of Average and One Stop Co-op Shop enjoying this game is very, very, very relevant to any decision I make, because that giant red flag goes away when you actually have people who know the board game space, people who have played quality board games in this vein. One Stop Co-op Shop did a comparison to Kingdom Death Monster. That's very relevant, meaning he's actually matching this up against Kingdom Death Monster and talking about the pros and cons of one versus the other. King of Average did a comparison video between this and Oathsworn, because Oathsworn, which I covered last week, is another game that came out around the same time, and people basically have to choose where to put their funding dollars. And comparing those 2 up against each other is a very relevant point, although I'd say comparing against Kingdom Death Monster is probably more relevant because that's a game that's established as good, versus Oathsworn is more not something that's in the public sphere. Even though we hope it's good, even though we believe it will be good, or I believe it will be good, it's not in the public sphere yet. So again, simultaneous danger, a little blinking sign here going on, combined with people who gave reviews of the game, that kind of eliminates that. Very, very important. From there, what is this game doing? What is happening in this game? And this game is a very narrative driven. There's a lot of story going on in this game. There's a lot of exploration, putting out tiles on this board as you slowly explore the board, and then end up in these giant boss battles where you are titans and whatnot, and you're fighting against, well, these giant creatures, and they have this combat mechanism that the game's theme, the game's art does not appeal to me in the slightest on a personal level. The whole why I didn't back it is not why you shouldn't back it. You, if you are interested in this game, you probably should back it, and we'll come back to that. Or maybe should, we'll go back to that soon. But I am not interested in this theme. I am not interested in the dry art style of these cards. And it's, when I say dry art, it's a theme that works for people. It's a theme that works for every Kingdom Death Monster fan out there, as well as other games. But it doesn't work for me. I like more going on in my art style. I don't like this laid back, just a single white card with a picture. It doesn't do it for me personally. Personal only. And yet, despite all that, I am still heavily pulled into this game because of something it does broadcast that it does, which is in boss battles, in these battles you are having in the game escalates. The battles constantly escalate. As you take hits, you are leveling up. You can choose to take the more hits upon, which will put you in more danger of actually dying or having something bad happen to you. But in the meantime, you are getting more powerful as you take hits, as well as the enemy. As you hit them, they are getting more powerful. It's an escalation that leads to eventually someone winning or someone losing. But instead of having a slow petering down as you hit each other and slowly weaken each other, the game escalates the combat system. And I love that. I love that in Cthulhu Death May Die. It is one of the reasons I think Cthulhu Death May Die is so much fun, is because as you play Cthulhu Death May Die and as you wind down to a close, you are escalating the game. Your heroes are getting more powerful but slowly more insane. Each time you defeat the elder god, he comes back more powerful than before. There is an escalation in that game that makes that final countdown, that final push, that final battle so much fun. Win or lose, I don't care. I just want to feel like it matters, like it's something comes down to the wire. And because of that, and specifically because of that, I am very interested in Aeon Trespass Odyssey. I was interested when the Kickstarter came out. I was interested now when I was researching the late pledge, but I'm still successfully holding back. Like I said, I'm blocking out your calls. I'm not getting this game because I am using the fact that I have too many giant narrative-driven games combined with my lack of interest in the art style to not back this game. Will I trade for it one day, buy in the secondary market if it's a good price? Very possibly. But for right now, I'm holding off because for right now, I am using an excuse. The excuse of too many games and an art style doesn't appeal to me. As far as whether you should or shouldn't back it, well, as a starting point, are you interested? Did anything I say resonate with you? Have you looked over this campaign? Does the art style appeal to you? Do you like 7th content? Do you like Kingdom Death Monster? Do you like the idea of Kingdom Death Monster, but you want a cheaper entry point? Because instead of paying $450, you can get the core game here for $130 plus shipping, which is around $20, $25 in the US. Could be more depending on where you are. You can get the prelude package for $70 plus shipping. The entry point here is significantly cheaper, but you're also not getting as validated an experience. King of Average and One Stop Co-op Shop are 2 people. That's not a whole giant host of reviews of people saying it's amazing. So are you willing to stake all that on 2 people? Or do you want to wait and see? Do you want to see if there's another Kickstarter down the road? Do you want to wait and see the secondary market? Those are all good questions to ask, and it's going to be a decision you're going to have to make. As far as the pledge levels, let's cover the pledge levels. I just touched upon them briefly. To begin with, we have a $69 Prelude introductory set. This basically gives you an introductory campaign. It gives you an entry point. If you are cash shy, if you don't want to jump in too much, and it's not a big jump, but if you don't want to jump in that much, this might be a good fit for you. That being said, with 54 backers on this pledge level, I think that kind of speaks for itself. I don't think this is a pledge level that really works. It is cheaper. It chops off a good $60 of that entry price, but you're still paying shipping. You're still paying $20, $25 shipping, possibly more wherever you are, and you're getting significantly less for that. Alternatively, you can go for the $129 pledge, which this is the one I would probably recommend if you are interested in this game, because this will give you supposedly 200 hours of gameplay. Now, I don't know about you, but my 7th content has not seen 200 hours of gameplay. My Cthulhu Death May Die, which is my most played game of all time, has not seen 200 hours of gameplay. You are probably fine with this, and depending, every Kickstarter has different things they add when you buy more, when you get add-ons and you get whatever. So for instance, if you buy a Command Kickstarter with add-ons, very often you're buying variability. Over here, you're not buying variability, not really. You're primarily buying more content. So unless you're worried about actually making your way through those 200 hours, this is probably the pledge level to look at. Are the other pledge levels worth it? Well, it depends on who you are and what you're going to play. Because next up from there, we have the 5-cycle bundle, which gives you the game and all the expansions, a ton of game time, a ton of content for $299 plus shipping. And I don't know how much shipping was. It's more than $20-$25. But basically, that's it. Those are your options. Prelude, Introductory, or what's it called? Introductory is called Prelude, or core game or the 5 cycles bundle. And again, that's a lot of content on the table. Should you back it? Should you not? What's the price point? Well, it kind of depends. I think this is one that is a safe back to a degree. Now, what I mean by that is this brought in $1 million already. This brought in $1 million, which is definitely a fair amount of testimonials. Not testimonials. It's definitely a fair amount of hype around the game. There are people who are interested in this game. There's definitely a desire for people to get this game on their table, to play this game, and especially because of that Kingdom Death Monster comparison. 7th Continent too, but I don't find that as much, meaning there is a 7th Continent aspect to this game, but I think it was more heavily compared to Kingdom Death Monster. And it's giving you a potential Kingdom Death Monster competitor at a price point that's a third the price, or a little more than a third, but just a decent margin or whatever. So that is something that's going to appeal to people, and that is something that people are going to want. The late pledge is opening soon. The reason I'm doing this video now, I totally forgot to mention this at the beginning, I'm too busy singing, but the late pledge is opening, and the late pledge is open, and you can back this game still. Now is your last opportunity to back this game before a few months from now, the next person who wants it has to hope for the secondary market and or a second Kickstarter. So should you back it or should you not? I think you should. I don't think you're risking a lot in either direction. Same thing I usually say, if you get this game, if you play it right away, you will almost certainly be able to get your money back. Maybe shipping is not against, I mean, give or take 10, 15 bucks, whatever it is, but you can probably get what you paid back as people jump in on the marketplace and want the game, and they're excited, and they're like, let me get it quickly before people say how good it is and I have to pay more for it. The flip side is if you wait too long and it doesn't actually validate itself, you might be out a little bit. I don't think that's that much of a concern. Like I said, One Stop Color Shop and King of Average together, it doesn't mean you'll like it, but it's a certain level of testimonial that this game is certainly not terrible. Is it to your taste? That's a different conversation entirely, but it likely will have an audience, and that audience doesn't have to be you for it to hold its value. As far as the Pledge Manager, it's worth covering this. The Pledge levels over here are 129 and 299, but in the Pledge Manager, they are 139 and 309. Basically, they added 10 bucks to each pledge level, so getting in the late pledge is a little bit more expensive, and honestly, for myself, I'm kind of happy it is, because I think I would have backed it today. I think I would have. Looking into this campaign, I was reminded of all the reasons why I wanted this game, and I'm just barely able to hold out to not get it right now. I'm just barely able to hold out. I do want this game. That aspect, the 7th Continent is a game I really enjoy. Kingdom Death Monster I've never had the opportunity to play. The supposed 90-minute playtime per session looks great. They have an app. They have a whole bunch of unlocked content from stretch goals and whatnot. But the idea of a boss battle with escalation, I love it. Again, Cthulhu Death May Die is one of my favorite games of all time, and I think it's specifically because of the escalation mechanic as to why I like Cthulhu Death May Die so much. And Aeon's Trespass Odyssey is a game that I really want to get it despite having no interest in the art style. These miniatures do nothing for me, but I want it because of that escalation mechanic. That's basically it. Pretty short video, all things considered, including the singing and everything else. I think this is a safe-ish back. I don't think it's a guaranteed hit. I think they're likely to have a second Kickstarter if it's a smash hit. So even if it is hard to get a copy on the secondary market right away, I think you can probably be patient and wait for a second Kickstarter. But if you're interested, it looks like a good game, and I hope you enjoy. Until next time, I am Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo. You can subscribe down below for more content. You can ring the bell for notification. You can comment on whatever song you want next. I'm not doing this. This is not a thing. This is really genuinely not a thing. Maybe once every few months, not twice in 1 week. I'm ending this now. Have a good one.